Robert, you never loved me.
Gloria, you are the only thing that has kept me alive.
Oh, Robert, take me in your arms.
What can I say? I love my soaps. Okay, I admit it. I'm not an athlete by any stretch. I'm just an average person that wants to be a part of something that's life-changing. Last year at this time, my leg was in a cast after shattering the lower part of my leg in a bad fall. So while most of my friends were training for the race, there I was stuck at home in traction for months with nothing to do but watch reruns of NCIS. By race day, I had determined I was going to do whatever it took to be a part of the race, even if it meant using a wheelchair. And so come race day, I had my friend follow me pushing a wheelchair. Only I never did use it. Who cares that I finished last? I finished. I can only go up from here, right? Today is the day for the kickoff for the Race for Peace for Congo. Guess what? My name is Tara Owen. I am your Race for Peace Congo spokesperson. How do you like those apples? Most people finish first and end up with their picture on a box of Wheaties. Me, I finished last and I want to eat a box of Ding Dongs. And they want me to be the spokesperson? Obviously, God is at work. Last year, we had over 500 FMCers run or walk the race. It was a big deal for a big cause. Peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Is that crazy or what? I can't even get any peace in my own home some days.
You got that right.
Easy, bud. Anyhow, FMC came together like never before and we raised a lot of money to fund a peace program throughout World Relief. It changed the hearts, minds, and bodies of so many people, enhanced our prayer life, gave us a goal, brought us together as a community. Amazing, but our job and the challenge for peace is far from over. Joe John's just returned from Congo, where he's seen the conflict firsthand. This would be a good time for one of those screen transition things. There you go.
Well, it was just about this time last year that FMC, many of you began training for the Race for Peace Congo, the initial one last year. We're out at Foster Park here, and this is very near the course that so many of us ran. In fact, this morning, early this morning, Pastor Mark Mays and myself were out here running as well. So I know we're ramping up, and as many of you know, I and two other pastors from some other churches just returned from Congo last week, and the word I want to share with you about that trip is that I really truly believe the tide for peace is beginning to turn. And that sounds absolutely crazy because the subtext to that story is that we had to be evacuated because intense fighting started less than a few miles from where we were. And at one point in the trip, actually several points in the trip, in the last few days that we were there, we could hear mortar shelling on the edges of town, and there were some people killed. So things got pretty intense and pretty hot, and one may think, well, what's all this peace building work about if you've got these episodes of violence still continuing? But I'm convinced that God is doing something in the midst of all that, and had a distinct sense that this round of violence, that because of the prayers of the saints, because of the prayers being poured out on behalf of Congo from the FMC body, through Race for Peace, through early morning prayer times that I know were happening even throughout my trip here, that God is hearing those prayers, and this round of violence is going to yield something new. And I say that for two reasons. One, we had this amazing encounter. The purpose of the trip was to facilitate a retreat for World Relief Congo staff, about 70 of them all together, and then to do some training with pastors in Goma. And as we were training the pastors in Goma, that's when the fighting began to break out. On the last day, things were getting pretty hectic. The security reports were looking pretty dismal, and you could hear fighting in the background, and they said, okay, look, you got an hour. The pastors had gathered for that last day of training with them, and they said, you can go to the church where they're gathered, you can have an hour, but then you got to come back and we got to cross the border. So we went and showed up, and we had a fairly extraordinary time of prayer with these 50 or so pastors. For my part, I was just undone at the end of this. I had was crying out to God with them. I was hoarse, I lost my voice, I was weeping. But in the midst of that prayer time with them, I, and I think the others with me, got a distinct sense that the current round of violence was going to breed something new. And there was an intense feeling of, God's sovereignty amidst the fighting. And then there was a second glimpse. There is a youth movement beginning to start. And we were able to attend a meeting that was initiated by young people in their teens and 20s. And 400 to 500 youth were packed in this stifling hot church to call for peace, to sing for peace, to recite poetry for peace. And this movement that got catalyzed was directly a result of the work World Relief Congo had done in Goma since it was invaded in November. Something caught fire, and it's resulted in this movement now of young people calling for peace. Being in that room with them, my gut was in my throat most of the time. I had goose pimples. Like, this is what we've been looking for. So this year with Race for Peace Congo, we're aiming for 1,000 people standing in solidarity and in suffering with prayer, with these young people, with their parents, with our brothers and sisters in Congo, calling out with an extravagant imagination for what it will be like when God's kingdom rule breaks through in Congo in our own lives. So we invite you, join us, will you? Invite your friends to join, and let's see what God's going to do this year with Race for Peace Congo.